Good morning, friends. This is Dennis Miracle. Today I was bored and I said I'm going to make a small, maybe a little quilt block, maybe to use as a coaster or that type of thing. This goes in the 4x4 hoop. And so this is what it looks like. And it's only got 3 pieces of, so it's very fun and very easy to make. And so let me take you over to the sewing machine. So I'll meet you there. Okay, first things first, I have loaded the design in the machine, as you can see, and I've put the little 4x4 hoop with a piece of stabilizer, which is paper towels that I use, and I'm going to run the first step. So let me do that. Okay, you can see where I've run the first step, the placement lines, and I'm going to take this piece of batting that I don't know where it came from, but it's a small piece, and I'm just going to, this is a great thing about this little tiny design, you truly can use scraps, so I'm going to sew this down, and so let me do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I've sewn down the piece of batting, and now I'm going to sew the placement stitches for the 3 pieces, so let me do that. Alright, you can see the placement line for the 3 pieces, and let me look over on my screen and see, okay, this piece on the right hand side, this largest piece, that's my first, will be the first thing to be sewn down, so let me find a piece of fabric and I'll be right back. I'm going to go ahead and sew it down and trim it, and I'll be right back. Okay, you can see I have sewn that down and trimmed the inner part and left the outsides fine. Nice little margin there of fabric. So anyhow, the thing I love about doing these blocks is there's no taping, and there's basically no measuring. I mean, you just reach over and grab something that you can see with your own eyes will fit and stick it where it needs to go. So let me look and see where the next step is. Okay, it's that fabric over there. So it's this piece right here, so let me find something to go there, and I'll find it and sew it down and show you in a moment. Alright, I found me a little piece of fabric, and I have sewn it down, leaving plenty of space around the exterior, so I need one more little tiny piece of fabric for this right here, and let me find it and sew it down and I'll show you. Alright, here's our third piece of fabric, that this batik, pink batik, or batik with pink and some tan in it. So now I'm going to, let's look over at our screen and see, okay, next what's going to be run is the flower, and I always put a border around each of the pieces now in the hoop. So those 2 steps will run, and I'll be right back. Alright, that doesn't show that well, unfortunately, but first it ran this area here, the little contour shape, or the triangle shape, this interior triangle shape here, and then it ran the flower in a separate step. So let's look and see where we're going now. We're going to do this hearts. So let me put this back in the machine and run the hearts and the area around it. So we'll be right back. Okay, we have our hearts and our surround there that goes around the hearts, and for unknown reasons to me, the software did that all in one step instead of over like it did the flower. It cut the thread after it did the inner triangle there on the right hand side. So, and then it did the flower in a second step. So I don't know what would cause that, but it doesn't matter. It got done, and so anyhow, then I'll do let's look, we know where the next step is going to be. It's the only thing left, so we'll run that step, and I'll be right back. Okay, you can barely see the quilting that was done up here at the top in this area right here, but it did do some pretty quilting. Now the next 2 steps are going to be the beautiful crazy quilt stitching uh, called binding stitches, crazy quilt binding stitches. And so let me go ahead and run those two, and I'll be right back. All right, you can barely see the stitching. Boy, I used the wrong color, didn't I? It's just too similar to this pink. I thought it would stand out some more, but it obviously didn't. Anyhow, the crazy quilting stitching has been completed, and now the next thing that's going to happen is it's going to run around this exterior line again to tack these various pieces down. And so let me do that. All right, it ran another exterior stitching around to hold all of these smaller pieces in place. And now what we need to do is take this out of the hoop, turn it over to the back, and take a piece of fabric and cover the tiny little design, and tape the fabric down, and then put it back in the machine and run the next step, which is going to be some zigzag stitches to hold everything together. And you should put whatever you put on this side, unless, I mean, if it's solid, it doesn't matter, which there's no side to a solid. Both sides should be the same color, but and I'm using a batik, the same batik here, and I'm trying to determine which is the right side. But anyhow, after saying all of that, you should put whatever fabric you're using, if it has a side that's correct, put it face up. So go ahead and cut you a tiny piece of fabric and place it over the design and tape it down. I'll be right back. All right, you can see that I have taped a little piece of fabric on the back, and it is right side up. I believe that's the right side. You know, it's hard to tell with batiks, but anyhow, definitely put your fabric right side up. So let me stick this in the machine, and it's going to do a round of zigzag stitches. All right, you can see the zigzag stitches on the front, and you can see them on the back also. And now we need to take and trim the fabric off, the quilting fabric, and also the batting, trim it right up against the zigzag stitches, and then trim also the back piece right up to the stitches. And at this point, I'm not going to bother changing actually my bobbin thread. It's just a white bobbin thread, but you know, you might want to do that if you are, you know, particular. You might want to change your bobbin thread just so it blends in better, but I don't, you know, this is just for me, and so I'm not going to bother with that. All right, let me get to trimming, and I'll be back in a moment. Alrighty, you can see I trimmed the fabric, quilting fabric, and the batting fabric, and my phone is stopping. Hold on. Alright, the other phone died. It's out of space, so you can see I trimmed the front, the batting, and the quilting fabric, and I also trimmed the back piece also right up to the stitches. And I am going to take, I think, and change fabric at this change thread at this late point, and I'm going to run this pretty little design here over again with my gold, with the gold thread. So anyhow, that's something you probably wouldn't be doing, but I'm going to do that. So I'll be right back. Okay, you can see that took about 20 seconds to rerun that, but at least it stands out a little bit more in gold. So I've returned the machine back to the last step, step 15, and it's going to do the exterior, all the satin stitches along the edge here where the zigzag stitches are. So that'll take 5 minutes or so. So let me run that, and I'll be back in a little bit. Well, I went ahead and just absolutely ran everything twice. I didn't run the exterior satin stitching twice, but I said I'm going to go back and run this in gold, and it took maybe 30-45 seconds for each little piece of here to run, so it was so quick. That's the great thing about these little projects. And so I was thinking, you could like take and delete this step from your machine if you loaded this design, delete this little flower, and then you could put I think all machines have a built-in way of putting an alphabet. You could put someone's initials here, monogramming, and make it a really pretty little gift. And you have nothing involved in this. There's just a few tiny pieces of fabric. It's a 15-minute gift, and in an hour you could do 4, or even probably quicker than that. But anyhow, what I'm going to do now is take it out of the hoop, pull away the paper towels, and then I'm going to take my scissors and go along and trim it a little bit more. So let me do that, and I'll show you how that looks in a moment. Alrighty, here is the finished product. I went around it some. I could have done a better job trimming, and of course I had already put the back on, and all the stitches showed when I redid the thing. But I don't care. It's only going to, remain like this, and I'm going to use that as a coaster. So it's just a little quick gift, a little something fun to make, and takes no time and almost no supplies. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed watching me, and this will be a $2 item for the 4x4 hoop, and I'm going to try at least once a week to make one of these tiny ones for the folks who have the 4x4 hoops, so they have something pretty to make also. And anyhow, thank you so much, and I will see you again soon.